setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
Welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. I'm so glad you joined me. It's Political Tuesday, and I gotta do it. I'll be right back.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
Gosh, I said several weeks ago that I wasn't going to do anything more in politics. But backed by demand, Political Tuesday is here to stay for a while, I'm afraid, until this election process is done. I got a note the other day from a listener on one of the other channels. I can't remember exactly which one it was. But he said, why are you always talking about politics? And I thought this was a business channel. I think it was being kind of snide and a bad remark from him. But the problem with that statement is that politics plays a big part in how we run our businesses, from taxation to environmental to staffing to hiring to employment issues. So politics encompasses a whole wide range of issues that we business people have got to pay more attention to. I know we don't want to because it's such an evil subject. I told you a long time ago that I stopped watching Fox and CNN and MSNBC, NBC, CBS, ABC, whatever the channel may be. I stopped watching it. And I only spend 30 minutes a day looking at what's happening in our nation and also in the world. Just 30 minutes a day. And I have a whole bunch of sources that I pull my information from. I decided, television is really not doing any good for me. It's not. You're being bombarded every single day by commentary and analysis, speculation, innuendo. There really isn't any news. And that is the biggest problem that we have today, is we have no real good news source. So I found this lady on the internet. In fact, I found her on Instagram, watching her on Instagram. And she does a 10-minute newscast every single day. She doesn't do any commentary. She doesn't do any analysis. She just reads the news, how it's being reported. That's all that I need. I don't need anything else because, to tell you the truth, I'm not all that smart, but I'm smart enough not to listen to propaganda. And that's what we're getting, is propaganda from all sides. It's coming to us from the left. It's coming to us from the right. I don't see anything in the middle, really. So politics plays an important aspect in businesses. I think I've used this example again, but it's a super example. Several years ago, about 4 years ago, the Democrats had control of the House. And they snuck in a bill that required, if you had a foreign bank account or even a signer on a bank account. And a lot of Americans are signers on foreign bank accounts because they're trying to help their mom or their dad, brother or sister. So they have a joint account with these people. So if you had $10,000 or more, you now have to report that not only to the Internal Revenue Service on your tax return, but you also have to report it to the Treasury Department under a special reporting format. And if you don't do it, it could be a criminal offense. Now, that was snuck in through a transportation bill. Transportation bill that had to do with ships and trucking and trucks and all that other types of transportation. So they snuck it in. That's how a lot of these bad laws get snuck in, is on the back of another bill. Hidden very cleverly between words, between bills. I'm sorry, I'm drinking my coffee as I'm talking to you. It's very rude, I know. But we have to, so when people ask me the question, why are you doing politics? Well, because it has a big time effect on my business, in your business, especially when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of taxation. Now, the bigger businesses who have to deal with environmental laws and everything else, they watch it very carefully. Every business, I don't care how big you are, should be watching what Congress is doing. You should be looking at and listening, following your congressman to see exactly what they're promoting. Because what they're promoting as a bill could be devastation to your company. So that's why I do it. That's why I do my Political Tuesdays, because I get fed up by what I am seeing. Now, I want to talk about Kamala Harris' plan of trying to get everybody to buy a house. She thinks everybody should be deserving of a home. Well, there's a lot of people that should not be. We've already learned this. Is not deserving to own a home because they're not at that point financially where they can afford that home. Now, she wants to make it all affordable, which means you go back to zero loans, you go back to lie loans, you go back to all of this other nonsense that got us into the financial mess that we did a few years back. I think you all remember, where you lost thousands and millions of dollars out of your 401k plans because it was tied to the mortgage industry. So we have to be very careful. We have to be watchful. We have to be observant of what is going on. Kamala Harris' plan to get everybody back into that home buying craze again, especially if they are low income and middle income people that are right on the line where they're just barely making it, taking on the responsibility of owning a home just is not there. Let's be honest. Let's be honest with what we're talking about here. She is pushing us right back into that situation where she wants to see things fail. I don't like her plan. I don't even want us to discuss her plan again. It's nonsense. It's utterly nonsense and puts the American people at risk once again. Remember, it was during the Clinton administration where he said, I want everybody to be able to afford a home. So the mortgage industry went wild, and they created all of these kinds of loans because that's what Congress voted to do, and that's what the president wanted to do. And it took several years for it to finally fail, but it failed big time. And so many homes went into foreclosure, and the economy went down, and you and I were faced with losing money out of our 401k plans because it was so tied to the mortgage industry. We as Americans failed at that time because we did not monitor or think logically. This is a problem. When people start spouting out free things are never free. They cost us. They cost you and I in tax dollars, bailout money, or whatever else comes down the road. We have to end up paying for somebody else's bad mistake. So we have to listen to these politicians very carefully. I say Kamala Harris is way out of line. She was the worst attorney general ever for the state of California. She let so many prisoners go that should not have left, and now they're right back in prison. She's bad for America. She's bad as a senator, and she's bad as a presidential candidate. So I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest with you, but I don't see any good things coming from Kamala Harris. Same thing from Warren and all the other 800 wannabe presidents. You never know if it's going to get up to 800 because it seems like there's another one that pops out of the woodwork every single day. But we have to be very careful about the heading of America. Right now, our financial situation is doing okay. We're doing fine. We haven't had huge growths and we haven't had huge declines. We've stayed constant. And that is the word of the day when it comes to businesses. We want consistency throughout the years. I've said this before. When I was in Orlando, I sat on the Chamber of Commerce. And I remember going to one of their meetings, and we were talking about the state of the economy, because at that time, we were not moving at all. Nobody was hiring. No one was expanding their businesses. No one was buying new machinery. And the statement was, and it was common throughout the meeting process, America is on hold. During the Obama administration, businesses were put on hold from doing anything because they had no idea what the administration was going to propose next in the way of in the way of taxes, in the way of more administrative rules. I mean, remember we had that big fiasco about overtime and everything else that came out of the Obama administration, and it affected every single business out there by what he did. Luckily, it was rolled back by President Trump. But it put so much constraints on business. Obama's policies put so much constraints on business that business was put on hold. We limped along, we survived, but we didn't hire any new people. We didn't buy any new equipment. We didn't invest any more as small businesses. We were being hit with big mandates on health care. And so American business, especially the small business guy, just did not know what was going to happen next. So when President Trump came along, he gave us consistency. And he began to roll back a lot of the former policies of President Obama. And so right now, we don't have any great, huge amounts of growth. We have consistency of growth. And it's remained constant for the last 3 years or 2 years of this new administration. Consistency is the key. So, I've been listening to a lot of comments on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and everything else. And now I've also started to delete a lot of those accounts because I'm getting so tired of the same old story every single day. And the same old comments and the same old complaints and everything else. We as Americans have a responsibility of talking to our members of Congress. And when we see things that we do not like, we have the ability to write a forceful letter, or send them an email, or send them a fax. We have a whole bunch of opportunities. When they have town halls, show up. So we need to take a proactive. We need to take a proactive jump forward and start fighting for what is right in the United States. Common sense has gone out the window in Washington, D.C. Common sense is gone. It's been gone for many, many years, but it's getting worse and worse because now we've got a far left-leaning party that wants to change everything about the democracy and about the liberty of our rights in this nation. And they're spouting out such stupidity that it's really hard to keep up with. I decided I would follow the comments from the sources that I feel, senators that I think are doing, and Congress members who are doing a great job in the middle of the road and trying to get things done in Washington. Then I also follow the ones who are trying to destroy everything and make everything a race-bait mentality so that everything that you say and do becomes racist. And so we've taken the word racist and completely made it into a political word, a political attack word on people who we don't agree with, or that other people don't agree with. And this is where we've gotten way out of line, where we're no longer using common sense to make decisions for the United States and for its people. Instead, it's a political party or parties who are driving nonsense. And we have to be very, very concerned about which direction are we going. Are we going too far left or are we going too far right? Too far left, we go socialist. Too far right, we go, I don't know where we go. But we need to adopt a common sense mentality instead of a left or right mentality. What aspects are good? Calling people racist is not good. I was called basically a racist a week ago, sitting in a Starbucks, moved an umbrella to a table that was out in the sun, and I didn't realize that the shade of the table was covering a little portion of another person that was a table away. And so when I moved it, the guy said, "Oh, just because I'm Mexican, you think I should be able to sit out in the sun?" And I thought about that. I thought, oh my gosh, don't tell me moving my umbrella has now become a racist move. I've just become a racist just because I moved an umbrella. I did not see that the shade was covering him just a portion of where he was sitting. He got up and moved to a seat that was completely covered by shade after he made that statement. But we're using racial statements, we're using the word racism way too much, because now racism does not mean racism. It means, I don't like what you did, I don't like what you said, so you're racist. That's how it goes now. We are Americans and we should be supportive of each other. We should be able to have a conversation and not even have the word racist brought up. I haven't heard the word racist in so long, except when Obama started running for president. He even called his running opponent, Clinton, a racist. And he used racism to make arguments. And then it's carried on. It's become the word of political attack. Everybody has become a racist. And now we're in this situation where we should not be. America is, gosh, if you look at the history of this country and how we did have racism. We had slaves. Come on, we know that. That's part of our history. And people want to tear down that part of history. They want to get rid of it. I think we should be reminded of it every single day, of the bad decisions that we made. Now, we had great leaders back then that developed a country that was for the freedoms of people. We had a constitution that protected all. We had a war that ended slavery between the North and the South. Blacks were given the right to vote, and other nationalities were given the right to vote. Women were given the right to vote. We have moved along so far now that now it seems as though politicians want to tear all that down and let's get back to racism and let's call everybody a racist, even though we've made such great strides. And when we are accomplishing things and when we are getting things done and when we see that the black community is getting better, that they're getting financially better, their education levels are starting to come up in higher education. The problem is that we have certain communities that have a high incident of black on black violence, but no one ever wants to work on that. Not even the black politicians want to work on that. The white politicians don't even want to work on it. We get nothing done in Washington, D.C. or within these communities because nobody wants to work on hard issues. They don't want to take it on for the betterment of America. So it comes back to us all using our common sense. Okay, if government is not going to protect us, we have to start working for ourselves, working together in common sense, and get things done within our communities. That's why I got so upset so many times during the election. And people were complaining and moaning and groaning. And I always came back to them, okay, I said, if you're not happy, get to work in your community. Find an organization that you can work alongside and within that's helping your communities and get involved. If you don't get involved as an American in your communities, then your communities are going to fail because it's up to you, it's up to me to work within our communities, within our neighborhoods, within our school systems, and get things done. That's the only way that it can be done. If you see something going wrong in your school district, if you see a teacher teaching the wrong philosophy of life or the wrong history, stand up, say something, get them out. Get them removed. You have that ability. If you have children in that school, take back your school. Take back the lesson study, the historical part of our nation. I was sitting with a goddaughter, one of my goddaughters the other day, and I was asking her, tell me the history of the beginning of the United States. She could not do it. She could not do it. There were even some people, I saw this guy on Facebook going around interviewing people, and this question was, who is the first president of the United States? And even adults could not answer that question. We have lost the sense of history within our nation, and that affects our political system because we don't know why America was created in the first place. And we don't know about the individuals who worked so hard and fought so hard to get us our liberties and our freedom of speech and our constitutional rights. That is the problem with America. We are not getting involved. We have an election coming up. When you hear something wrong, ask them, why did you say that? And then correct them. Because a lot of these politicians forget about history because they have a political agenda. And that political agenda outweighs what is good for America. When you have political agendas coming up like this, you have to be very careful about these individuals because their political agenda is not what America needs or wants or what we stand for. I remember a few years back, I got involved with a group in San Bernardino called Excel. And what Excel did is they provided free tutorial individuals, professional individuals would go into schools and tutor students who really needed help. If you know anything about San Bernardino, it's predominantly Spanish. They even have a Mexican embassy in San Bernardino, a consulate. There's a lot of undocumented families who have lived there for years and years and years. The problem is that they have never learned English. So there's children were going to school, and they could never bring their homework home to their parents because they didn't know how to read or write or understand English. So Excel was born, and professionals volunteered their time. They adopted a child in that school that needed help, and they tutored that kid for 1 year, for 1 school year. Now, we always made a promise, and the promise was, listen, if we're going to tutor you, and you make it through high school, and you go to college, come back to your community, and you do the same thing. You tutor a child. Because see what it did for you, you can do it for another child. But that's how a community got involved in a problem area that needed attention. The government didn't come in. The school teachers were happy to see that their students were getting free tutoring. But it was a volunteer system. Volunteerism does a lot for all of these communities. If you see a problem in your community or an issue in your community, band a group of people together and begin an organization that's going to help that need. Identify the need and go for it. Go after it. We are Americans, and politics is dirty at the moment. So we need to forget about these dirty politicians, vote them out of office, vote these people out who are saying asinine things that are so harmful to the American people. Vote them out. But get involved in your communities. That's the only way that your communities can get better if you try to do something for your community. So that's my Political Tuesday. I noticed that I normally do about a 10-minute podcast. I try to keep it short and sweet, but every time I get into this political issues, I notice that I'm now 27. What am I? I'm almost 30 minutes into my podcast. So I apologize. But Political Tuesdays are going to be an important factor on my podcast for the next few weeks or the next year and a half. But that's it. Hey, I want you to, that's the end of Political Tuesday, so I'm done with that. I want you to go out to Amazon.com and pick up my book, Ethically Thinking, It's Not That Hard. Ethically Thinking, It's Not That Hard by Michael Lodge. Pick it up today at Amazon. You can, it's not a very expensive book. It's not a very thick book. I wrote the book for myself because I had been touched by ethical issues by other people that touched my life. And so I wanted to just write about it. I wanted to get it out of my system. So go to Amazon.com, pick it up, Ethically Thinking, It's Not That Hard. Everybody go out today. Have a great day. If you have any questions, send me a text. I have a text system that comes into our offices here. It's 818-252-5682, 818-252-5682. Send me a text if you have a comment, if you have a question, if you have a business question, send it to me. I'll give you an answer. Everybody go out and have a great day. I'll talk with you very, very soon.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
This is written and produced by Michael Lodge. This show is content driven.